Well, blessed Monday to you as we come to with your daily encouragement. And we were talking about bearing one another's burdens. Now, we've had already the ministry of listening, the ministry of helpfulness, now the ministry of bearing burdens. And yes, in a sense, Jesus takes on our burdens, but he invites us to take on the burdens of others, to carry our cross, to share a yoke with him. But in many ways, that yoke that we are given, that cross that we are given to bear someone else's burdens, what do? We place it back on Jesus. And so that's where that burden becomes light. But it is our responsibility to take on those burdens with Christ, not without, with Christ. And so on page 100, Life Together, the section on ministry, Dietrich Bonhoeffer says, the Christian, however, must bear the burden of a brother or sister. He must suffer and endure the brother and sister. It is only when he is a burden that another person is really a brother or a sister or another sibling in Christ, and not merely an object to be manipulated. You see, that's what happens. If we don't look upon them in love, we look on them as something to be taken care of, manipulated, maybe to not be a problem to us. But Dietrich says, no, take them on as a burden. The burden of people was so heavy for God himself that he had to endure the cross. God verily bore the burdens of all people in the body of Jesus Christ. But he bore them as a mother carries her child, as a shepherd enfolds the lost lamb that has been found. God took people upon himself, and they weighted him to the ground. But God remained with them, and they with God. In bearing with others, God maintained fellowship with them. It is the law of Christ that was fulfilled in the cross, that Christians must share this law. They must suffer with their brothers and sisters. But what is most important now is that the law of Christ has been fulfilled. They can bear with one another. They can bear their siblings' burden. Now, isn't that good news? Maybe it isn't. I've known many people, and I've included myself sometimes, where I felt put on. I felt like I was the one that had to deal with some problem people. Now, I'll just whine a little bit. When I was in high school youth group, I had already firmly believed that I had a commitment, a calling from God to become a pastor. And so what I found, at least I felt this way, and maybe it was intentional, maybe it wasn't, but I felt like I had people put on me because, well, he's going to be a pastor. He's got to be a nice guy. He'll deal with the quote unquote problem ones in the group, and every group has them. And so, you know what? My very pious response was complain about it, try to get out of it, ask why I get to be the one to bear the burdens of these people. I want to be with my friends. I don't want to have people that disturb me, bother me. I did not bear the burdens as Christ called me, or at least I complained about it. And that took a long while to do that. And there are times where I catch myself, that I find myself trying to unburden myself from difficult situations and difficult people rather than doing what Christ calls us to do. Christ models himself to do. Embrace it. Embrace it. And maybe you're like me, or maybe you're more perfect than that. God bless you if you are. I would consider you a noble saint if you're able to find yourself unburdened by some people that are difficult in this world. But I still can't escape that that's what God is calling me to do. Even before I read Dietrich Bonhoeffer talking about it, deep down in my heart, I knew that this is what God was calling me to do, and it is also something that I can complain about. And I dare not. You know why? because Christ did that for me. Christ did that for us. Christ took on our burdens, our unfaithfulness, our annoyances. And maybe we don't know all the ways that we annoy God. We know by our baptism, we know by his very body and blood given to us that he loves us. But that still doesn't mean that all the things that we do are wonderful. Let me compare us to a cat sometimes. I mean, if you are a cat owner, you understand this. You love those creatures, but they don't always love you back. Sometimes they look back at you with almost kind of a superiority complex, and you're saying, I'm not sure if that cat loves me or not, but I'm still going to give love because that's a burden to me. And so it is with the cross. We are called to bear one another's burdens because Christ has bore our burdens. And my friends, that's good news. God bless you today. We trust that these continue to be words of encouragement. Take care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.